everybody, it's Safi and Marco, Dish Out on the Movies. And I just wanted to say, what made you guys think that I was excited about doing this 600 subscriber activity? I'm not going to talk any more about it because that'll be coming up, but I am working on it. But I am not that kind of a mother or person to manipulate somebody's love life. I've never done that, like a matchmaker type of situation. I think it's really dumb, and it's like something you only read about or see in the movies, but I guess apparently Marco has mentioned some actors whose mother did that for real, somehow, for publicity. But anyway, enough of that. Today we're doing a review of last night's Masterchef episode, and it is season 14. It's episode 6, and the title of the episode is Age as Just a Number, because remember, this season is about generations of people competing against each other, and that is the boomers, me, millennials, X, which I had never heard of, which is 40 to 55. I mean, I know there's people who are 40 to 55 or whatever, but I've never heard of the X thing. And then, of course, Gen Z, and that's Marco. And I guess you would call that the TikTok generation, which is weird because I remember seeing ads for TikTok when it first started and people using it, and they were trying to get people to sign up for it. So, you know, I was very aware of it.
Did you mention Gen X, the generation you wouldn't review?
Marco, for some reason we missed well, I was out of town, and so I don't know why Marco was saying that. But anyway, so let's get started. I think this was a very difficult challenge in a certain way because I think normally none of these people, probably very rare, very few of them do this. And that is, when they say age is just a number, what they had to do was to make some kind of entree, you know, like a whole meal that used, because you actually would have to, I believe, had to use 2, quote, aged ingredients to, and plus anything else you wanted to do, use. And aged means, you know, anything that's been, any kind of food, like a cheese or something that's been, before you eat it, it's aged for a long time, which, ew. That's what I say, I just don't believe, I don't know of people who do this, use aged ingredients. So I think this was a very hard challenge, but they did get some good people coming out of it.
I thought that the person who went home, she made the challenge even harder than it had to be. She
got slipped up. I think she just had like let's say, you know, you take a test and you come across a question you can't answer, you just get stuck and you only get a lot of amount of time to do the challenge, and you just keep staring at it, and that's what happened with her. Basically, she just like didn't know what to do, and it messed up her whole flow because she already had it planned out. And then, well, I'll tell you what happened. You know, they had a winner from last week, and when that means that person would have immunity this week, and that was Rebecca from the Boomer generation. And technically, it wasn't last week. It's the last time it was on, because last week it wasn't on because 4th of July for some reason, because it was the day before 4th of July, right, Marco? So I don't know why they didn't have it on. But
yeah, well, we should mention, like, last week, for some reason, there's no episode on, even though it was the night before 4th of July, number 1.
Yeah.
Number 2, you think about, what about 4th of July means that we can't have TV? Because, like, I understand, I guess for, like, Christmas or something, you don't want it the night before, maybe because people have to go to sleep so that they can get up and go to church or something. but like, there's no one going to church on 4th of July. All you do on 4th of July is sit around at home, or you go see fireworks, or you go to a barbecue. You don't do anything that involves, like, not being able to be home to watch TV. So I really think that they did a disservice to this episode, because I feel like around a holiday time, I mean, everyone's at home watching TV. Everyone.
Well, I don't know what they'd be watching unless it was sports.
No, but they watch anything. They watch movies, TV shows on Netflix. Like, I would be curious to see, like, statistics of, like, streaming services. Like, is there a boost on a holiday? Like, at least the night before, a night of. Like, there's gotta be. Because...
No, I don't think so. Not on the day of.
Yeah.
But the night before, this just didn't make sense to me.
For something like 4th of July, like, you don't think people are watching a movie together, like a family picked out a good comedy or something? It's just stupid. So I really think, like, that was a retarded decision, regardless of what we feel about this specific Masterchef episode.
Well, so anyway, Rebecca had this immunity, and that's a good thing, of course, but she also got a perk, and that is because it would benefit her whole group as boomers, okay? Because she is a boomer. But anyway, she was given, or she was shown secretly, because we were not allowed to see it, an aged ingredient. So not only were they, what she would do in the middle of the competition, everybody stopped cooking and they stopped the clock, because remember, they're on a time clock. And she would give the ingredient, the extra ingredient, to one of the other groups.
Which I was glad, because we haven't seen that type of thing in a while on Masterchef.
Well, this was really, it was hard enough anyway with and this was another aged ingredient. So that would mean this group who would get it would have 3 aged ingredients to put in their dish, and plus they'd already cooked half of it, or they've spent half of the time cooking, so they would have to figure out off the top of their head, what are they going to do with it? So they didn't show us. So after we start, after we talk, we'll tell you who she picked. And her thing was, she was picking a group that seemed to have a lot more competitive people who would compete with her group, and so she wanted to get them out. So she picked a group that she thought would be the most harmful to her group. So that was what would her influenced her decision making. It was a strategic one. So anyway, they go around the room and they go up to people and they say, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? And of course, they don't like the one Gen Z guy who was in the bottom last week, and he did something really stupid. He thought, when you cook steak, you sear it, and of course you have to have it medium rare. If you didn't know that already, that's like a mantra from MasterChef cooks. And at the end of his cooking, what he did was he got a blowtorch, and he didn't think it had enough of a sear, so he was trying to give it more. It just looked worse than what it was. And Joe said, "What did you do? Learn that on TikTok?"
Well, I thought, it was stupid, but at least he was trying. And
I don't like them either, and I can tell they don't like. I don't think that's a good thing. They really should act like they're being non-judgmental.
Well, I just don't know what else he could do, though.
I don't either.
What he could do, because you're not going to want to put it back in the pan, so that you're very limited on what you could do. And I would be curious to know what Gordon, Aaron, and Joe would have done. Like, instead of just making another joke about TikTok, what would they have done?
That's actually a good question. In fact, they should have, I would say they should have an episode or put something in an episode, like what would you have done?
Yeah.
Maybe do it at the end or do it at the beginning. I don't know.
Yeah, they could do like an after show for each episode,
Yeah.
which is what they did with Cutthroat Kitchen. After each episode would end, they would bring back in the guest judge, and they would show the guest judge all the different sabotages the contestants had to do, and they would ask them what they would have done.
Yeah, I
And
think that's a great idea.
then they actually try to make something with sabotages, and they're only like 4 or 5 minutes long, like each of these videos, and so they could easily do that. It would add a lot more value to the show, but I don't know. It just seems like they want to do the same old shit. They want to be this, like, fit into this mold, this Masterchef mold, and not really add much variety.
And the thing is, I mean, it's not even the people who are competing themselves. It's them who brought out the fact that, Gen Z has been exposed to all of these different things, methods and ways to do cooking because of all the media sources that they have that nobody else, like my generation, did not have at their age. And so they've been making emphasis, how that could affect positively and interestingly their cooking. And so then here they are. Here he comes, Joe, who likes to complain more than anybody. What did you learn that on TikTok? So that's like a cut, a negative thing. And so I just find it ironic. But I don't like the guy either. But still,
it was funny. It's like, how many jokes are they going to make about TikTok?
Yeah, I know.
TikTok is a joke all by itself, so, like, you don't need to make jokes about it.
And TikTok doesn't care because they have a lot of people who use it. So,
yeah.
Oh, anyway, I just wanted to say too that when Rebecca was shown the secret ingredient, Gordon said, quote, "It's really pungent." So you're thinking like, the only thing I was thinking, but somebody was actually using this as an ingredient in their cooking. I don't know which person. It was a man. I think it was blue cheese. That's really pungent, but I'm not really sure how blue cheese is made. But I mean, that is and then Marco went to this food, or he had this thing in his class where the teacher brought in all these weird foods, and one of them was these kind of rotten eggs, duck eggs.
No, they weren't rotten. That was 7th grade science. It was a Fear Factor challenge, and they were Centurion eggs.
Yeah, it's a real thing.
And they were not rotten.
I wouldn't touch them with a 10-foot.
They tasted really, really good.
Oh God!
And the only reason why I spit it out are Century eggs. They're preserved for several months, and they look very unappetizing, but they taste pretty good. And the only reason that I spit mine out and that I lost is because everyone else was throwing up, and so it made me want to throw up because
the thought of seeing everybody.
Yeah, because everyone else was throwing up, and I was like, this doesn't taste bad at all. And I was given a bigger piece than everyone. I was given over half of an egg, and everyone else was only given a little small piece. So I did pretty well, and that was really good, though. I mean, that'd be fun to see them have to cook with a Century egg on Masterchef, because what would you do with that? I don't know. They taste good.
Okay, so anyway, Rebecca ended up giving it, and what it was Stilton cheese, which if any of you ever had it, let me know. I don't know. I don't think I've ever had any. And
I haven't.
So compared to blue cheese, I don't know what it would be like.
A Century egg would also be an aged food, technically, as well.
That's what I would think too. Yeah, that's I had been thinking that was it too.
Beat that.
So anyway, she gave to Generation X, and like I said, the reason why, because she thought they had people in there that were more competitive than her, and could beat her group. So we'll see what happens. So anyway, they would go up to people and they would make these comments like, we'll talk about this. Well, we come to the end, and there's been 1,000 commercials. I actually wrote them all down because we're doing the survey thing, and they asked about commercials, and I just don't even pay attention. And I couldn't believe the amount of commercials. Just the number was just unbelievable. But anyway, they start with, of course, they pick a good cook from each generation. So there's 4 good cooks. They start with Gen Z. And they picked Becca.
No, but I want to say first off,
oh, okay.
I knew who was going home as soon as she was starting to screw up in the episode.
And they pointed it out, but they pointed it out for a few people doing something.
Her dish, Sunshine's dish, was so savory, it almost made me want to throw up because, like, when you have a meal, I mean, you want it to be savory, but you don't want it to be so overly savory that, you know, the judges said it's like at a cheap steakhouse type of thing where it's like really greasy and fatty and just everything about it was just like, too much, way too much. And then to add the Stilton butter on top of that, she was screwed regardless.
No, they actually like that part. We're not on her yet.
They like that part the best, but what I'm saying is I knew as soon as I saw her mess up that she would go home. I knew that it wasn't a fake out, and they weren't just showing her to do like a fake out and make you think she would go home. I knew that she would be the one to go, unfortunately. Because I thought also, do they really want to send home this Native American Masterchef? Like, I mean, because honestly, like, this is the one time where I'm like, you know, the diversity thing is actually a plus here because I want to see, like, more of the Native American cooking.
What she would cook,
so,
what she would bring to it.
I thought that was kind of disappointing.
Yeah, well, but we're not on that yet. But anyway, the good people they picked were Becca, who's been a loudmouth about her generation.
I don't like her.
I don't like her either because she just goes on about how they're going to beat everybody, and I just don't really even agree with that. I mean, you know, I don't necessarily think that's true. I don't know who's going to win. Well, I have somebody in mind, but I don't have special powers to pick somebody. I've seen what she does, and it's a woman. And
yeah, the Ukrainian woman.
Well, we'll see what happens because something always happens where she'll get kicked off, you know. But anyway, she made another thing is several people made duck, and I thought this was odd. Duck is like one of the hardest things to cook, so I know they're showing off that they can do it. The other thing is we have watched. This is the 14th season. I haven't seen every single season, but I've seen most of them, and this is very rare to me that they, in my mind, that they have all these people cook duck at the same time. So I was shocked. Anyway, she made a duck, and they went on and on and on during the whole thing. This was one of the fake out things, where she did something with it, and the way it was cooked, so it was going to be dry. And they just went on and just kept looking over there, and they walked by there.
And it didn't look good too, because
it didn't look good.
She cooked duck, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I really like duck a lot. I've had duck multiple times in the past.
Well, I have too, but
and
I don't. You know, it's not my favorite.
Just looking at her duck made me want to throw up because it looked like it was overcooking. It just something about it. It did not look good, but apparently it was good. So I was really surprised by that. I didn't get why they kept on saying it was bad because it's like they're lying.
And there were also several people, including her, who made cheesy potatoes, which that was shocking, like mashed potatoes, and they added cheese to it. Basically, that's what I'm talking about. And that was surprised me. It's some kind of leafy vegetable. It's very hard to write all this stuff down. It's very technical, and all these certain specialized, what do you call it, names. And I just can't keep track of all of it. But that's basically what she cooked. But Joe, all of them, I don't know what they said exactly. I don't have it, but they all liked it, and they actually said that the duck was cooked really good. And I'm like, wow, after all of that, huh? So the next one they picked was the millennials. They're next. And Anna, who's the Ukrainian, who I have predicted, I'll just say it right now, that she has a good possibility of winning. And she's just, Joe said, quote, everything is in balance. And she made a snapper and some kind of red pepper sauce. But her whole, even her presentation, it's very professional. And she doesn't, it doesn't seem to bother anything that's thrown at her so far anyway. She doesn't seem to be bothered by it. So it looked really good, whatever she made. The snapper, but I thought it was good that she made something other than duck. Okay, and the next one is Gen X. And this was Kimberly, and this is the lady who's really, I think they all like her because she's got this kind of little girl voice, and she's a really happy person. And she made duck. And then she put the Stilton in her potatoes, making it Stilton cheesy potatoes. And Orone said you really respected the ingredients. So I don't know what that means exactly, but everything was balanced out and went with each other and looked good. So she made this little comment, but she's so nice and sweet and sounds like a baby. She said, "Oh, Rebecca thought, not Rebecca, but the other, the one who picked the ingredient. She thought she was going to trip us off by giving us this Stilton cheese. Well, I'm sorry to tell you, I've used tons of Stilton cheese my whole life, and I love it. So, and so do my friends. So I'm like, oh God." So okay, but anyway, nobody took anything bad by it, but her dish was good. Then we go to the next one, the last one, and that's the Boomers. And this was Warren, who was the flight attendant. He's 70, and he made, this was really good. He didn't make duck either. He made an aged New York strip with the cauliflower puree, and I think he put the Stilton in that. So if you've ever
that one was surprising because when they were walking around, Joe said that his dish was straight out of 1987, like that was like a bad thing. So I was not expecting him to go up there. So that's another thing. Like, what's the deal with that? Like, he never even explained that. Like, this looks like it's from 1987. Like, I thought that was a bad thing. I thought that you're not supposed to make dishes that are, like, historical or, What'd you think of that, Safi?
I don't know. Sometimes they say stuff and I just don't know where it comes from and what it's supposed to mean and who it helps. It's just like they just come out of this, they just say something because they have to, but it doesn't really make any sense.
Yeah, like they could have said any year. They could have said, this dish is like it's out of 1991. This dish is like it's out of 1975.
Well, I didn't write this down, but didn't he put a tomato on it? And he said, "Oh, that's straight Boomer putting a tomato on top of it."
Well, Safi, you want to talk about that? You did that earlier, Safi. You had egg salad, and you took a whole tomato.
But I had it separately.
And you weighed it.
I was going to mix it all together.
Oh, see?
I have a tooth that's bothering me, so...
Uh-oh.
So anyway, but still, his dish looked good. And he also used that... I've made pureed cauliflower, and it is just like mashed potatoes. It's really good. And he added the Stilton, just like that other woman added Stilton cheese to her actual mashed potatoes. And I thought that was different too, because, everybody else, they have potatoes, but he used cauliflower, which I thought is healthier, actually, and good. Okay, so who won? Anna from Ukraine.
Yeah.
She won, and everybody, really agrees. They really respect her, and they like her. So she's a millennial, so the millennials won. Okay, now we'll get to the bad.
So you spent all that time... Oh, wait, no. Wait, which... Okay, so that biatch with the duck, she's Gen Z?
The first one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought she was millennial, because...
No, she's might be younger than you.
The millennials...
She might be 23.
The millennials are the show-offs.
The youngest one is the cowboy guy. He's the youngest person.
The millennials are the show-offs, and I was thinking about, wait a second, Safi thinks that a millennial is going to win the season, but then she said, they're showing off.
Well, Anna's a millennial. Well, she's not the one who shows off. The ones that they're obvious. They never shirk or shy away from showing off. And I can't stand the smack talk. And that's that first girl who got, they kept going on about her duck, but it ended up they pick her to represent her group as a good dish. She's always mouthing off. So, anyway. All right, bad. Well, Fatima from Gen Z, which is a very big shock in a certain way, because I thought for sure they're going to pick that guy. They must be saving him for later, because I know they don't like him. And
his dish was better than hers.
I don't think he can cook either.
His dish didn't look that bad. It just looked like a crappy dish you'd see on TikTok.
Whatever, but I don't think everything you see on TikTok is bad in terms of cooking. I don't even watch it. But
80% of it is probably bad.
Well,
just
I'm
like
not
80%.
I'm not gonna say either way because I never watch it.
Just like 80% of the acting you see on TikTok is bad. 80% of everything on TikTok is bad, and it's by design, because anyone can post, just like with YouTube, but on TikTok.
They have restrictions.
On TikTok, the algorithm is more fair, so you're more likely to see random people, whereas on YouTube, they bury all the smaller people.
Okay, well, anyway, we start with Gen Z, because millennials won, so you're going to get somebody from Gen Z, X, and Boomers, because they're the remaining generations, so there'll be a bad one from each one of those. So they start with Gen Z. And this is Fatima. She's a woman from Nigeria who is a doctor. She's already a medical doctor, which means she must be extremely smart.
That was a surprise, but her dish didn't really look like something I'd want to try.
Yeah,
so.
She used aged salmon. I've never heard of aged salmon. I don't even know what that means. I mean, it has to be where you've preserved salmon for whatever, how many months, whatever, and that means it's aged. And so that wouldn't that mean it was already cooked? I don't know. I
dry aged salmon.
Well, that's what she used, I guess.
7 to 21 days. Weird.
But they thought it was weird for her to cook with it, and said it was really hard. And they gave some reason, which I don't know. It just doesn't sound good to me. I'd rather have fresh salmon. And she made asparagus. And she said, although the salmon was very moist, the flavors together of everything she made was like Rome called it mass confusion. So it just didn't go together. She didn't put the dish together. And before she brought it up, she said, and while she was cooking, she said, because they were already giving her a problem, making comments about it, of course. But she said she made this kind of thing all the time. So she thought that it should be good. Well, whatever. So we come to another bad one. And this was Sunshine. We've already talked about her. She made a ribeye. And it was dried aged ribeye.
Yeah.
And it was undercooked.
It was raw.
And she had undercooked potatoes.
And I was surprised that the steak was raw, because, You'd think at least she would have gotten the steak right. I mean,
she just felt the part. She just
yeah.
but she's very stoic. Maybe because she's Native American, she has a certain way of presenting herself. But she was bothered. You could tell she was bothered by getting the Stilton stuff.
Yeah.
But she was so stoic. That
Well, what'd she expect?
Well, I know. So it's just, but she's so gracious and everything. She, admitted that she was just stumped. And she had a Stilton butter sauce. And they said that was the best thing, which is funny because she was freaking out in her way.
She thought she had the perfect dish.
Of getting getting the Stilton cheese, and she actually, it turned out how she used it was good. So, and then the last person they picked who was bad was a baby boomer, and this was Christopher, and he made steamed aged
and
snapper.
His dish looked sad. It just looked like a sad, like, old person dish.
Well, Joe said,
and he looked sad
it looks like
too.
it was plated on a buffet line.
But he looked sad too. He just looked like a sad, like, just going up there with like that little sad face with his dish, and I was like, yeah.
And I guess the way it was plated was really bad.
He's not gonna win.
No. And Joe said the puree, which I think he had way too much, he put a circle of it around the dish. And it just looked, I don't know. It didn't look good. So anyway, Joe said the puree let the dish down.
We were kind of disappointed we didn't get to see the Cowboys dish. Because
And
Safi...
it looked good. I think they barely went through it. It looked like, just barely showed it. And I thought it looked good.
Yeah, Safi thought he was going to win the episode again. And
I
meanwhile,
think he did win again.
But meanwhile, the whole episode, what did they do, Safi? Like,
they focused on that girl and her duck.
No, remember...
That's the entire thing.
No. Remember last year where, like, in the earlier episodes, like, they kept on showing the Alabama girl's face, like, over and over again, but they wouldn't show what she cooked. They wouldn't talk to her or anything. And, well, this year, they're showing that with Cornhole.
Yeah.
The Cornhole Queen.
That was funny. We went to Florida, and, I told you cornhole was invented in Ohio. And they were playing out in this bar that had an upstairs and a downstairs where we went a couple times. Well, it's a restaurant, actually. And they had a cornhole thing. And I was thinking about her and her husband because they're from Florida.
Cornhole.
They had a cornhole thing set up and people were playing it. And I wanted to take a picture and show it to Marco. And I didn't get it in time.
Take a picture.
They had been doing it.
Take a picture of the cornhole.
Well, the people playing cornhole. So.
And every time they showed her face, I would go, Cornhole!
Hey, Marco, don't have to be so loud.
It's true.
So
right?
Anyway, but they never, in fact, I didn't recognize her.
Really?
Because I think when she tried out, she had her hair down and everything, but she had it up. I just didn't recognize her. And they hardly showed her. They kind of just barely showed her face because Marco said, look, there's Cornhole.
She kind of looks like
where?
She looks like a vampirist. Like, she looks like that one woman who was in all the Ed Wood movies. Marilyn, or what was that woman?
I don't know.
Ed Wood, vampire woman. Vampira? Yeah, she looks like a lot like a Vampira.
Kind of.
Yeah, cornhole.
Cornhole.
That's what cornhole is.
So anyway, Marco was right. He actually picked right off the bat that Sunshine would be going home.
Yeah.
I really wonder what else she would have cooked. But maybe she just doesn't have enough experience.
I just don't think...
I don't know. I really don't know.
She can't play the game. If she can't get a surprise item that she was told about before the challenge would start and then deal with it, then she can't play the game, and she's going to go home.
Yeah, and they also, like when they get those mystery boxes, they'll always get some weird, like inky squid and those puffer fish or whatever those things that are prickly I don't
Those
think it's
things that are
pufferfish.
prickly.
I don't know, and they have to. Oh God, think about it. It makes me want to irp. But they have surprises all the time, so you have to be prepared. And I think that guy, that's what I say, that cowboy guy. Now he's another person, although he's young, but he has cooked a lot. I mean, this is a guy who has to cook for a lot of people, so he's probably almost better than anybody there at cooking for large groups of people.
Well, and I just
that
want to
always
say,
throws people off.
next
Lots.
episode is a group challenge. I'm not excited.
Now they're going to
got
go to the L.A. Soccer.
Chef
I don't
Gordon.
know what the soccer team is called.
Chef Gordon is like showing off in the soccer field because
He used to be a soccer player.
he can't play there as a soccer player, but he can take Masterchef there and kick a ball around.
Not kick a
with-
ball.
with
He
air
can kick
on.
the food that he doesn't like and kick it, which they did show a scene
So
where he didn't like something. He kicked it out of there.
I'm excited for that, and I would rate this episode a B. I didn't think it was
agree.
anything too special, but it's fun. It's actually really fun. It's not so bad when they're not constantly mentioning their ages.
I get sick of it.
And
I don't
like-
care.
Like the
I don't
thing,
care who wins. If I don't like them, it doesn't matter what generation they're from. I just don't like them.
yeah, like that thing last episode where that Asian guy said like the boomers are always asleep or something.
Yeah, and I
like
just
Safi.
appreciate it. I thought it was disgusting.
Like Safi, and I don't like that. So I prefer like this episode, even though this episode wasn't the greatest. I prefer it if the show was like this.
Yeah, and also I don't think people used aged ingredients as a norm. Maybe
That's not the point, Safi.
Well, I
It's
just
Masterchef.
I know, but I just don't. And even sometimes when they cook stuff, you might take something from and go, "Oh, I think I might like to cook that at home." I don't think I want to use any of that to cook with. And maybe this cheese, but not really.
No.
I mean, there's so many. I like nacho cheese. It's very flavorful, and you can add that to a cauliflower puree.
I would say that actually
or regular potatoes.
the majority of the stuff that I've seen that I've wanted to make at home has been stuff on MasterChef Junior.
Yeah.
Actually, and I'm not lying. I'm serious about that.
And then, of course, they have the thing, which goes for the adults and the children, about desserts.
Yeah, nobody knows how to make dessert.
Except now this time they've already had a couple people do a dessert.
Yeah,
So,
because they got balls.
and I think they were Gen Zs.
Because they got balls.
But anyway, so my favorites right now, I should say, and favorites meaning I just think they have a good chance of winning. And that would be the cowboy guy, although he's young and immature, but he's had to cook for a lot of people, and he has to make his stuff interesting. A lot of different people who have different interests are from all over the country working where he's working on this ranch. And then you have Anna from Ukraine, who's very European, and she cooks. She doesn't have any fear of anything, and she makes. I mean, even the cowboy guy, he does too. They both have a good way of presentation.
I like
That's one really good thing.
the cowboy guy because he feels like he could be Superman, and it feels like instead of casting that guy that they got, they should have casted him. Because and I also, as I said before, he's like that character in the horror movie, like the quiet side character who the main guys are mean to, and then at the end of the movie, he's the last one left with the final girl, and he saves the day. That's what he's like.
Yeah, he's.
So.
What I think is interesting is just he says this experience, and we'll see how it plays out the next episode, because it's going to be an outside challenge, it's going to be a group challenge, and he is used to cooking for a lot of people, and that is one experience that most of them, probably majority of them, do not have, and he does. And that makes a lot of difference, because he won't throw him off at all. It shouldn't, because he's used to it. And he's had to do it every day, multiple times a day. So, because that's his job. He's the cook. So, he probably does stuff with the horses too and whatever.
And I also like making fun of cornhole.
Yeah, we'll see how cornhole does.
And I think she's also from Alabama, just like the Alabama
she's
girl.
From Florida. She's from Florida.
No, I don't think so.
No, she is. I got
Really?
her in my notes.
Where is it? Where's your notes?
Well, we don't want to do that now.
Oh.
'Cause I'll show it to you afterwards, and then you can see. She's from Florida.
Well, it's funny because it's like there's always someone to make fun of every year.
So anyway, we'll see what happens next week.
Instead of saying, this isn't like my hometown back in the barn, she should say, like, this isn't like my hometown back in the alligator swamp.
And that isn't a joke either. And we were down there. I mean, there's so many places, there's so many spots of water.
Really?
Water is everywhere. I'm not talking about the ocean. I'm talking about these pools of water that are everywhere off the sides of the road. No wonder they have a mosquito malaria problem. No wonder they have an alligator. I mean, even the people we're staying with, they've had an alligator in the back. And they don't even recommend for you walking around these places because these stupid alligators just pop out of nowhere and can grab you. And between the riptides and which they've had two situations where people have died from the riptides. They've had alligator attacks. So they just had one they had one, I think, either on the way there or on the way back where some man he might have been fishing because they have people, they stand on the beaches and they throw their fishing line into the water and catch some kind of whatever. And this man was fishing and an alligator, was it a shark or an alligator? And that's another problem too. Got him on the hand and arm, but they got somebody there quickly, and he got medical treatment very, very quickly. So it's quite. I mean, I don't know I haven't heard anything lately, but it was quite a wild ride when we were there.
Really? Really?
And there was a set of parents, a man, a woman, and they were killed with a riptide, and they have these flags that they put on the beach that are different colors, and if it's a bad riptide, it's red. So they had the red flags up the sides of the beach, and that meant you had to be very wary of riptides.
And instead you went to sleep in the water.
No, I didn't even go because it was so hot. It's so hot there right now. If you've been hot in the rest of the country, which has been hot here, it's not hot today. It's starting to get hot again. But, it's been like almost 100 degrees, and it's there in spades with the humidity, which is really bad. But anyway, that's it. I'm digressing, and we'll see you next week. I hope you liked this video. Give it a thumbs up if you did, and become one of our subscribers. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye!